In my hometown of Melbourne, Victoria, we have what many people around the world are calling the world's worst electric car tax. Many people are saying, not me, don't want to go there, that Victoria and the Premier of Victoria is against EVs and is trying to stop their adoption. Well, in light of the fact that 243 people who have electric cars just had their car registration revoked because they forgot to file their tax information for their electric car road tax, meaning they can no longer drive their car, period. Well, maybe people have a point. Maybe Victoria is the world's worst place in the world to own an electric car. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. Thank you for supporting me with our GoFundMe campaign for my wife's cancer treatments. We have seen some slight improvements. We're going to have some more scans done next week. Definitely less pain. The pain has been pretty bad. Definitely been less pain recently. I'll have a new update very soon. Now, if you want to help, if you can help us with the GoFundMe campaign, that's amazing. I'll put a link in the description below. So I was shocked to see this news. I have to say, I wasn't shocked to see that Victoria is taxing people who have an EV. You have to pay road tax to use your electric car. Now, I understand them doing that in the future, 5 to 10 years from now, but doing it today, to me, seems like a pointless measure that's just aimed at preventing electric cars from really taking hold. That's what it looks like. A lot of people think that. However, when I saw what's happened to people now that they've had their car registration removed, in other words, their cars just forcibly taken off the road because they simply forgot or weren't reminded, as you should be with a new tax like this, to file their kilometers. What does this mean? Well, here in Melbourne, Victoria, well, not here because I'm not there right now, but I've lived there for most of my life. In Melbourne, Victoria, they've made a new rule. When you drive anywhere, you have to keep a logbook. And then you have to tell the government how many kilometers you've driven. And then you have to pay the fee per kilometer. If you don't do it, well, the government, as you can see, just goes, too bad, so sad. You can no longer drive your car. We are revoking your car registration. So forget to submit your electric vehicle's odometer reading in Victoria on time. And, well, you'll be driving around without a registered car, which carries a $1,000 fine. More than 245 Victorian drivers have had their vehicle registration cancelled for failing to pay the very controversial zero and low emission vehicle distance-based charge, with one owner telling the news agency that their registration was cancelled without their knowledge. In fact, this has become commonplace now. I've had a look on the forums, I've had a look on social media. Many of these owners of these cars are saying they had no idea that they hadn't done what they were meant to do. And I have to say, when I owned my BYD in Victoria, which I've just recently sold, my Anno 3, I forgot all about this. I just had no idea that I had to do this. And I was never sent anything about it. The government never sent me any letter. There was nothing, absolutely nothing. There's nothing about, hey, here's how you do it. I would have had my registration cancelled as well. That's true. I would have had, mine would have been revoked. Now, under the Zero and Low Emission Vehicle Distance-Based Charge Act, which was created by our, many people say, dictatorial government in 2021, drivers of electric and plug-in hybrid vehicles had to submit a photo of their car's odometer annually to determine how much of a charge they have to pay. The charge was introduced to help compensate for the loss of the fuel levy revenue as EV and plug-in hybrid sales increase. Now, here in Australia, we have a lot of taxes on gasoline, on the sales of gasoline, on the sales of petrol, and I think that's reasonable. It makes total sense, especially when you consider the incredible damage that pollution does, the incredible damage that burning gasoline and diesel does in so many different ways. And of course, the government pretends that it's a tax that's intended to build roads. Now, actually, it doesn't have anything to do with building roads here in Australia. The two things are completely separate. That money that the government takes from taxing gasoline in Australia doesn't actually go directly into building roads. Maybe indirectly, but not directly. Anyhow, registered operators of EVs have 14 days from the date of request to provide their odometer reading. Failure to pay sees registration suspended and cancelled after 78 days. Less than 1% of EV registered operators have had their registration cancelled from non-declaration of odometer readings, VicRoads Registration and Licensing Services Chief Operations Officer Michael Hooper told AAP News. Now, for you guys in Victoria and Australia, in Victoria, the state of Victoria, they have sold off and privatized the VicRoads, right? Basically, the part of the government that actually gives you licensing, registrations, handles all that stuff, handles the roads. They've sold it off and privatized it to pay bills because they can't afford to pay their bills. That's exactly what happened. So it's even like, yeah, the government are doing this, but the government are basically telling this privatized company to revoke people's registrations. They're coming out and saying, we've revoked less than 1% of electric vehicle owners' registrations. I'm not convinced that's true. I want you, if it's happened to you, let me know. I want to see the real numbers because I think the real numbers are actually quite high. Now, the charge is 2.6 cents per kilometer. So for every single kilometer you drive in your EV in Victoria, and in fact, it doesn't matter if you drive in Victoria, wherever you drive it, if you drive it all the way over to a completely different part of Australia, you still have to pay the tax. You have to pay 2.6 cents per kilometer. The legislation has also been criticised by automakers, including Volkswagen, in fact, a number of different legacy auto manufacturers, even Toyota, environment groups, rideshare firms, and charging infrastructure providers for hindering uptake of electric cars. And I agree, they're right. It's just more negative headlines that deter people from making a positive change. Now, positive change is sometimes hard. Sometimes hard for people to go, you know what, this is different. I'm going to get my head around this. I'm going to make this decision. But if the government is telling you, you need to file a new type of tax, you got to take a photo of your odometer. If you don't do it, you're going to have your registration revoked. You got to pay extra fees. It's just another reason for people to go, oh, adoption is too scary. That's what I think. I think it's just, okay, if you want to tax it, do it. But wait 5 years until people have moved away from their analog phones and moved to digital smartphones. You see my point, right? And they've gotten used to this whole new digital smartphone concept. It takes a lot of people a little while to get used to something different. If you put up a roadblock like this, it just makes it that much more difficult to get them to make a positive change. Before it became law, 26 organizations, including Hyundai, Volkswagen, Uber, and Tritium, penned an open letter calling it the worst electric vehicle policy in the world. It has also come under fire from the federal government, meaning the Australian government, which filed an intervention in the High Court last year to support two Victorian motorists in their suit against the Victorian government. The High Court challenge is, in other words, the government of Victoria is going to the High Court against the overall government of Australia to fight this out. The weird thing is here that, many people who believe that the government in Victoria are basically forward-thinking, they're progressive, they are the equivalent of the Democratic Party in Victoria. These people are, I honestly think, delusional. They're not forward-thinking. This is not forward-thinking policy. You've got these so-called Republicans, like the Liberal Party of Australia, even they disagreed with this. So I find this very hard to understand. I know there's a lot of people who support this, but I think they support this purely on ideologically political grounds. I don't really care who you vote for. I just think you should vote for policies, not for people. If you vote for people and you vote for parties, you just get blinded to stupidity. And this is just stupidity. That's my opinion anyway. Let me know what you think in the comments. The federal government, the government of Australia, has previously said there are potential implications for long-standing constitutional principles in relation to revenue and economic policy, and that the Commonwealth government would like to work with Victoria and with other states and territories on policy relating to EVs. However, the current government of Australia, it's the same. They're both basically the Democrats, the Labor Party. So the Democrats are suing the Democrats in High Court to get what they claim is an unconstitutional policy against electric cars revoked. Now, the plaintiffs in the High Court argue the state government, Victorian government, is charging an excise which under Section 90 of the Constitution of Australia is the exclusive power of the Commonwealth Parliament. They're saying that there is no such power of the Victorian government to even make this rule. Are you surprised? Victorian government here we're talking about? Dictator Dan. Yeah, I'm sure I'm going to get some people subscribed from the channel today. Probably quite a few based on my comments here. But I'm sorry, I don't care, like I said, who you vote for. But I do care when I can see clearly that someone in power is doing what I think is the wrong thing. The legal action not only challenges the validity of this particular Victorian Act, but also the rights of states to levy other road taxes and charges, and calls into question the rights of jurisdictions to collect billions of dollars of revenue from motorists. Now, another state in Australia actually brought into law a similar tax. However, that was repealed. It was cancelled last month. The increasing uptake of electric cars and various state governments' introduction of road user charges threatens to remove a significant funding source of the Australian government. And it's already happening. The reason being that fuel revenue, or the taxes that the government makes from selling fuel to motorists, have been going down. The reason for that is that more efficient cars use less gasoline, use less petrol. Therefore, the user pays less tax. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again on the next video. Bye-bye.